A proper client consultation in the salon or spa can make or break that guest experience and really factor into their happiness, their experience, and whether they become a loyal customer or not. And as much as everybody in our industry has heard about consultations, sometimes it is either underestimated or overlooked in terms of how much attention we put on it. In today's episode, we're going to delve into the art of a proper consultation in salon and spa to set yourself up for success as a salon professional and make sure that you create the right expectations and the right experience for your guest. Welcome to the Salon Scoop, a podcast by Salon S.O.S. I'm your host, Scott Moon, the founder of Salon S.O.S., and I'm obsessed with helping salon professionals live their best life. In this show, we shop talk all things salon to bring you real-life stories, debates, entertainment, and inspiration to help you find happiness and success in this beautiful industry. If you work in the salon industry in any capacity, this podcast is open to you. So set down your scissors or rinse out that toner and let's get into it. Hey, Salon Nation, Podcast Nation, how are we all doing today? Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of the Salon Scoop. With me, as always, is Sarah Perrin. Sarah, I feel like I should do a proper consultation with you here as we get into today's episode. I'm not quite sure where to start. What are your expectations for today's podcast episode?
My expectations are that we hammer out a kick-ass episode that a lot of people can take things away from. So that is my expectation and goal for this podcast episode. So hopefully we can achieve that.
Wow, see, like I had no idea that was in your head. So it's a good thing that I clarified that expectation with you. Consultations are just so crucial. And it's really because of that alignment of expectations. Too many times we just assume, right? And Sarah, what happens when we assume?
Like an ass out of you and me.
You said it, right? Not me. So, clients come in, and this is just where, a breakdown or miscommunications happen because of a lack of communication around this phase. And we sometimes take it for granted because we're running behind, or we've had a client, for a long time, and it's like a returning guest, and we just assume that we know what they want, and we just get into it. Obviously, with a brand new customer, you're going to do a much more thorough and detailed consultation, but you should still have one with each and every visit, right, of every guest, to do a quick check-in and make sure that you're on an understanding of what's happening and what they're looking for in the visit today. And anything that's potentially changed in their life, anything that's happened in between, if we're talking about hair or skin, it's important to understand this before starting the service. So Sarah, given that you are a service provider yourself and you work with customers and clients all the time, why don't you guide us through sort of, what some of the key elements of a proper consultation really should look like?
Yeah, for sure. So like you said at the top, I feel like a good consultation, or just a consultation in general, kind of makes or breaks the entire experience of the appointment. And first and foremost, the most important thing is to understand what your client's needs and goals are from this appointment. So again, I think it's important, as you mentioned, not only to do like a very thorough consultation with new guests, but it is something that I think a lot of people kind of forget about with, again, those existing guests, and it can hinder their experience, right? If they're sitting in their chair and they're like, well, how come you didn't ask me what I want this time, or if we're doing something different, or if my goals have changed, or whatever it might be, right? So again, the first thing is, again, I feel like the best way to come about doing this is asking open-ended questions to the clients, not just yes and no, not putting words into their mouth or anything like that, but asking open-ended questions like, what do you envision for your hair today? What do you hope to leave looking like, or what is the end result that you're hoping for today, asking them and kind of getting them to be a part of the conversation, as opposed to just asking yes or no questions. Like, are we going blonde today? No, like, so just getting a little bit more in depth with what exactly they are wanting long term, as well as in that appointment. And that kind of transitions into my next point, which is assessing the condition of the hair or the skin or whatever it might be that you're working on. And then giving them a realistic expectation for what they can expect from that appointment that day. Because if you have somebody that comes in with black box dye on their hair and they want to go platinum blonde, it's just not going to happen in one sitting, right? And if you don't communicate that effectively, they might expect something different because they watch shows like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, where Kim Kardashian went from, dark black to all of a sudden platinum blonde. And so people don't necessarily understand the chemistry and everything like that that goes behind hair coloring and chemical services. So it's not just a matter of, yeah, we'll see where we can get today. You want to make sure that you lay those expectations out clearly for them. And I always recommend to my team, like almost kind of like an aim low, miss high, right? So if you aren't sure exactly, especially if it is their first appointment, how their hair is going to lift or how their hair is going to react to what you're putting on it. Again, kind of going in with that, like, we'll see if we can get you to this point, but then if it ends up better than that, you're kind of exceeding their expectations, right? So almost, again, like I say, not shooting low with your expectations, but you want to manage those expectations, because you really don't know how things are going to react, especially if it is the first time with you seeing them, right? So that would be
Yeah.
step two, is assessing, making sure that their hair is in good shape, making sure if there's any issues that you're not, messing with the integrity or the health of their hair or skin or whatever it is, and just really having that open, honest communication about what you can achieve in this appointment, what they can expect, and maybe a game plan moving forward.
When you talk about like a game plan moving forward, are you talking about sort of like what to set expectations about what they're going to need to do kind of between visits and what sort of maintenance there might be?
Yeah, absolutely. Not only, again, like maintenance and what they're going to need to do in between appointments, but also if they have an end result that they're specifically looking for, communicating and being super honest and transparent about how long it's going to take to get to that point. So again, with my example of the black box dye to platinum blonde hair, you might sit down and be like, okay, these are the things that you're going to need to do in the interim between appointments to make sure that we are, again, maintaining the integrity of your hair so that you are able to get this done the next time. But likely what you're looking for is probably going to take 4 to 5 to 6 appointments. So again, kind of discussing, like, for example, if somebody's looking for something super high maintenance, even like let's say a vivid color, or again, they're going transitioning to like a platinum blonde, they can't just come to the appointment and then go home and wash their hair with any drugstore brand and throw their hair up in a ponytail every day, or wash with hot water, or whatever it might be. You need to be very transparent about, again, the maintenance products that they might need, the maintenance practices that they'll have to do, and different things like that. Because if their lifestyle doesn't necessarily allow for them to do this, where you can do your job and execute it in the proper way, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure for your next appointment, right? So
Yeah, because they're going to be
again,
frustrated.
yeah, totally. So again, just being super transparent and clearly laying out what they will need to do in between appointments, and again, how long it's going to take to get to that final result that they're wanting. So again, through at-home care and through in-salon services.
Cool. Okay. Do you recommend sort of sharing, kind of an option A and an option B, or how many options, would you potentially share with a customer?
Absolutely. So I feel like this kind of ties in a little bit with budget as well. That's a really big part of your consultation that you need to discuss, because again, if somebody comes in with an unlimited budget and they're cool to come and sit in your chair for 10 hours, you're going to be able to achieve much different results than somebody who says, I have an hour and a half and $150 that I'm willing to put towards this today. So I feel like again, explaining the different options does tie a lot into what their time and money budget is. So again, once you have clear expectations and they know exactly what they're probably going to be paying, how long they're going to be there, everything like that, then you can kind of recommend different options within that time and beauty budget. So again, I think that that is a really big part of this that sometimes gets overlooked. Like something that we teach our stylists to do is the beauty budget comes into play right from the get-go. Because again, if I have dark hair and I'm like, I want to be platinum with pink after kind of thing, like a pastel pink. It's going to cost a lot. B, there's going to be a lot of maintenance in between so that they actually are happy with that. So my stylist might be like, again, if your hair can't handle, like, again, the integrity and health of your hair can't handle this today, or you have a limited time or money budget for this appointment, maybe we suggest, doing a few foils kind of thing until we gradually make it to that point where you can achieve that pastel color. And in the interim, I can mix you up a colored conditioner so you get that kind of pink look that you're going for. So you definitely want to make sure that, again, their budget aligns with what you are able to perform in that appointment. So those two things kind of tie into each other. And again, it just really comes back to managing expectations and being realistic.
Yeah, I think the money issue is a cause of a lot of frustration for clients because they get to the front desk. I hear this from friends all the time, right? They get to the front desk and they, are all of a sudden told that it's going to be, a few $100s, and they're shocked. They're like, whoa, they had no idea that it was going to be that much, but now it's done. It's, you're in a really, really awkward, uncomfortable situation. You pay the bill and you walk out of the salon. That, again, it's going to really impact, the future. You might not go back again, but it's an awkward thing to have a conversation with afterwards to say, oh, I didn't know it was going to be this much. And, your hair might look beautiful or your skin or whatever it is. So having that budget conversation as part of the consultation at the beginning is really, really important. And often people shy away from it, but we have to have the courage to have open, honest conversations around it. Anything else, Sarah, that we need to touch upon in the consultation phase?
Yeah, again, I feel like the biggest thing is you want to avoid that sticker shock, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
and again, once you have had that conversation about like, okay, your budget today is $200, this is what I can do for you today. And again, if you're looking for some big transformation and stuff like that, let's make a plan for your next 3 appointments so that we can split that up so that you're not going substantially over what you're planning on paying, but you're also not disappointed in the result that we were able to achieve with your budget. That's, I feel like, again, number one thing with consultations. Another thing that's good to touch on in any type of consultation is allergies and sensitivities. I feel like that's a pretty basic thing. I feel like it comes into play more so with aesthetic services. We have got pretty thorough consultation forms that you sign out if you're getting a pedicure. Are you diabetic? Do you have any allergies to these different things? Skincare, obviously, you're not going to be wanting to apply anything that they have sensitivities to, but it is just as important with hair. So again, there's certain, colors that people might have issues with or ingredients within these chemical procedures and everything like that. So again, just having that conversation so that there aren't any shockers. Another big thing is too, I'm just going to quickly touch on this, is even medications and things like that. It can be kind of uncomfortable to have that conversation. But for example, I'm actually going to use a stylist at our salon because this was something that happened. And I know that a lot of stylists have had this, where even if it's somebody that has been coming to them for a long time and all of a sudden they've changed up their medication, the chemical process can be completely different. They might end up with hot roots. Or this specific incident, we had a client who had just started Accutane. And if anybody's familiar with Accutane using it for acne, it pretty much dries you from the inside out. And this client was used to getting full blonding services, and she started this medication, and all of a sudden, most of her hair broke off because it was a completely different texture and everything like that than it was prior to being on that medication. So again, you don't want to pry or anything like that, but just asking if there's anything new that they are taking that could affect the outcome of the chemical service in particular.
Love that. How much time would you recommend, or in your salon company, Elise, or again, expert guide here that we're providing to our listeners? How much time would you recommend doing a consultation for a brand new customer versus a returning customer?
Again, I feel like it's going to totally differ based, like if you have somebody coming in for a haircut, it's probably going to be a bit of a shorter, consultation than it is if they're doing some type of chemical service. But one of the biggest things, and this is just kind of a little tip, is you want to sit down with them. You don't want to just be standing behind them, looking in the mirror, having this conversation. I would recommend, again, like minimum 15 minutes, especially for a new client, sitting down, sitting face to face with them. If you have a form that you go off of, if it's just a verbal consultation that you do, whatever it might be. But I would say, again, like for an existing to a new client, depending on what the service is, like you're looking at like between 5 minutes to half an hour, really, depending on how much you need to get through. But I would say that that 15-minute mark is pretty safe, and you can usually cover everything that you need to within that time frame, even for a new guest.
Love it. All right. Anything else in the consultation phase that we should be aware of?
I think we covered pretty much everything. Again, I feel like at the end of the day, the entire point of the consultation is to manage expectations. Again, have that beauty budget and everything like that in place so that you know exactly what you can achieve in that amount of time. And then if it's you just, again, you never, the whole point of a consultation is so that your guest doesn't leave disappointed in the result that they're getting, right? So for example, like I do bridal makeup, and I always say when I'm training makeup, I'm like, I almost talk to the guest. I get every single thing that they use on their face, what they wear on a day-to-day, what they wear if they're going out. I explain that it's going to look like a lot more than it, like I cover every single point that like they could have an issue with, so when they look at it after, they knew exactly what to expect. And again, it's almost that kind of like aim low, miss high. Like you almost want to not scare them, but you want to let them know that this and this could happen. You might not be happy with this and this, so that at the end result there's isn't that shock of, again, like whether it be makeup and oh, this looks like a lot more than I'm used to, or with hair, oh, it's not as blonde as I was hoping it would be. Like you want to cover every single base so that at the end of that conversation or the end of that appointment, that they are made well aware and almost expecting the worst. And then it's like, oh, wait, no, this is wonderful kind of thing. So again, you want to exceed expectations instead of setting that standard so high and not being able to achieve it. So it really is your insurance policy for after like for your appointment, right? To make sure
Right.
that yes, we talked about this and this, and nothing is unexpected and nothing is a surprise.
Yeah, that's super important. I want to talk about kind of like tracking and keeping this information and the importance of that in a second. Just a quick sidebar to all of our listeners out there, whether you're a new listener or you're an existing listener that's been following our episodes for a while, we just want to take a moment to say we put our hearts and soul into providing this content. We really appreciate you listening, and hope that you get so much value from it. It would mean the world to us if you would take a moment to rate and review the show. It just helps us to expand the reach and allow us to touch more salon professionals, which internally allows us to bring more and more content that's going to help the industry. So if you wouldn't mind taking a moment to just hit the rate and review, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Music, or another platform, would really mean the world to us. Thank you so much. All right, let's talk about tracking this information, because it's one thing to go through the consultation, get all of it, but it's really important that you're keeping that information on file, right? So you have the history of the client over time. And the old school way is having actual physical copies, a consultation form that they fill out time and time again. And you can still have that, but you might as well make those forms digital now. It's just a little bit safer that you don't lose it. It doesn't get coffee spilled on it. Doesn't get stolen. You can kind of store it more easily. But you want to make sure that you're maintaining that. You might have quick sort of client cards, right? That stylists can kind of just keep notes from each visit, including some of the preferred styles, products used, treatments used, any notable reactions that happen like during an actual application, of products. Those can be important. And there's certain, systems that exist. A lot of your POS systems will have, client files where you can input a lot of this information. Just important to kind of put it in there. You might need something separate that allows a little bit more. And sorry, I know you use a system in your salon. Not that we want to promote anything in particular, but maybe you can just sort of share what you use, but more importantly, why is it so important for us to be like maintaining records of all this information?
Yeah, so kind of like I say, it's almost like your insurance policy, so that if there are any issues or if the client isn't happy with their service for one reason or another, even if your stylist knocked it out of the park and did exactly what they said, it's just again keeping track of this was communicated to you. It wasn't just an assumption that they understood. So for us, we actually use it's a system called Cognito. Again, there's some free options with that. There's some paid options. But then we have every single question of the consultation that our stylist goes through with the guest, and they fill it out together, and then the guest actually signs it at the end. So it's not just, oh, we discussed this. It's, I was aware. They're signing that they understood every single thing that you covered in your assessment, in your consultation, and everything like that. So again, it just kind of like protects your butt if there is any issues or if the guest isn't happy. You do just kind of have that insurance policy of, again, you can quite clearly see that you signed off on understanding all of these different things. So that's why it's really important. And then just on the flip, because we were talking about, because that's great for digital copies and everything. For physical copies, if you kind of want to minimize your paper waste and everything like that, a really easy way of doing this is having just like a laminated consultation form that then they can physically sign, everything like that. And then maybe you just take a picture of it so that you have it for your files and you wipe it off and it's good to go for the next person. So that's an easy way to kind of incorporate the physical with the digital without wasting a bunch of paper or having, file folders full of these forms. So
Love it. All right, everyone, you've heard it here. Some of the key, steps to implementing a fantastic consultation, how to track it, the importance of that. I think, we cannot overstate enough how valuable the consultation is. And it's not just because of some of the, safety concerns and insurance, and we're not trying to make this a job, where it seems like it's all so rigid and technical. This actually helps to build your credibility, your authority as a professional, right? You don't go to the dentist or the doctor without them coming in and asking you a series of questions, each time that you visit. This is really helping to differentiate yourself from, the average stylist out there who's, maybe certified, maybe not, and doing a half-assed job. You're a professional and you're asking important questions that really are going to help to ensure that you're maximizing your customers' satisfaction, you're maximizing their experience and their desire to be like, wow, this was a great, thorough visit. They really understand my needs, and nobody understands, like my stylist, my esthetician, because they take the time, right, to sit with me. So it has such profound impacts overall. So please take the time, if you're not doing it regularly with your customers today, make sure that you carve that out in your appointment scheduling. And it's so critical. Cannot overstate it enough. Hope that you got something out of today's episode. Again, feel free to reach out if you have additional insights or tips that you want to make sure that we share with our audience. In the meantime, go out there, give an amazing consultation. Have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for listening to the Salon Scoop podcast. This show is produced by Salon S.O.S, a digital marketing agency by industry professionals for industry professionals. If you want simple and affordable solutions for any of your salon marketing needs, such as websites, client loyalty, Google search rankings, social media, or more, come visit us at salonsos.ca or on Instagram at salon.s.o.s. If you want to hear more episodes like this and help us continue to bring the industry great content, it would mean so much to us if you would support us in one of the following ways. Either share this episode with one other industry professional, and rate the show on Spotify or write us a quick review on Apple Music. We want to hear your feedback. If you have follow-up questions or ideas for future episodes, please reach out. DM us on Instagram at salonist.s.o.s or hit us up on our website again at salonsos.ca. Again, thanks so much for listening. Now go get your hustle on, keep smiling, and we'll catch you on our next episode.